رمضان 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 كريم رمضان
All the praise to Allah the Almighty, and peace and blessings be upon His Messenger Muhammad and all the prophets and messengers of Allah. Once the Prophet, peace be upon him, asked the companions, his companions, do you know what is backbiting? Backbiting. They said, Allah and His Messenger knows best. He said, if you mention someone with what he hates to be mentioned, then they asked him, if what I mentioned is something true about him, then he said, if it is true, this is backbiting. If it is not true, you are lying. This is unfortunately one of the most common things happening between people. And this is also one of the major sins. And it has a bad effect on the relations of people. Because imagine yourself that you hear by some mean that someone is telling about you something bad. How do you feel about him? In Islam, we always try to do our best to keep the relations strong and good, and to spread peace and love between people. Those who are backbiting are spreading something which is totally against that. Unfortunately, maybe if you go to anywhere, you will find this is something common. They are making fun of somebody and mentioning bad things about him, and they think this is just a joke. This is not a joke. This is something you are responsible for. In the day of judgment, you will be punished for that. And the one whom do you make this backbiting, he will take from your hasanat, the good deeds, because this is his right. Allah in the Holy Quran says, don't do backbiting. Do you like to eat the flesh of your brother while he is dead? He make this as if you are eating the flesh of your brother while he is dead. This is exactly backbiting. He said, you dislike that. You hate this. So you should hate backbiting same as you hate doing this. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he said, when I went into Mi'raj means the ascending into the heavens in that great night, he said, I passed by some people who are having nails of brass, and they are scratching and their faces and their chests. So Gabriel, peace be upon him, was the accompanying him. So he said, who are they? Who are they? He said, they are the people who eat the flesh of others. It means those who are backbiting. So it is something very bad, something which we must avoid and think about. The great scholar Nawawi, rahimahullah, he gave some details about this. He said, this backbiting, if you mention somebody with something which he dislikes to be mentioned, so if it is something related to his body, to his religion, to his behavior, about his money, about his children, about his father, about his wife, about his servant, about how he is walking, how he is speaking, and so on. And by any means, if you are trying to do this, this is a backbiting. So you should avoid this totally. Actually, one of the wives of the Prophet, peace be upon him, she said about other wife that she is like this. It means that she is short. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, was angry, and he told her, you have said something. If this word which you have said, in spite that she didn't say anything, but just she aimed with her hand, but it is understood that what she means. If this word is mixed with the water of the ocean, it will change its smell and taste. Something very bad. In another occasion, also two of the companions were traveling with their servant, and this servant keeps oversleeping. So one of them said how much he is sleeping, he's oversleeping. And they asked him after he woke up to go to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and ask him for the food because they were together. So when he went to the Prophet, peace be upon him, told the servant to go back and tell those two companions that you already have eaten. So the servant went back to these two companions and he said that the Prophet is saying that you have already eaten. So they worried about that. So they came to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and they said, we asked for food and you told us that we already have eaten. He said, can see the flesh of your brother, he's aiming to that servant, between your teeth. So then they ask him to ask for forgiveness, and they should also ask forgiveness from that servant. How simple we consider commenting on somebody with something which he dislikes. So it is not something easy. This is also one of the major sins. However, there are things, or there are certain situations where mentioning something bad about someone is not considered as backbiting. And these are these 6 situations. The scholars mentioned, of course, from other proofs. First is the one who is oppressed, wronged by someone. So if he goes to the judge, for example, or for someone, the king or ruler, and he complained that so and so did so and so for me, he oppressed me. So he said something bad about him, but this is a complaint against him to get his right. This is not considered as backbiting. The second situation is helping to change something bad. So, for example, you know that someone is doing something wrong and he's doing some corruption. Then you go to a specific man who is able to stop this one. And you tell him that so and so is doing so and so. So in this condition, you are trying to face and fight the corruption. So this is not considered as backbiting. The third situation, it is in the situation where you ask the scholar for certain situation. For example, a wife, she comes to the scholar, the one who is giving verdict, and tell him that my husband is doing so and so to me, and it is some sort of complaint and saying bad things. Actually, one of the uh, companions was mean, and his wife came complaining to the Prophet, peace be upon him. She said, he's not giving me enough money. So I am taking from his money while he is not aware of that. He is mean, she said. So the Prophet ﷺ approved her. He said, take whatever you need, okay, moderately. Okay. So he didn't say that, don't say this about your husband, because she is in a situation that she needs to say that. The fourth situation, we know that in the science of hadith, narrations of the Prophet ﷺ, how it reached to us. It reached to us through Sahaba, then the followers, then those who narrated after them. So here, if we have books actually to evaluate people, those who are trustful, those who are not trustful, those who are liars. So in this situation, while you are mentioning these things, these are important to preserve the purity of the hadith, the authenticity of the hadiths. Okay, so also advising somebody, if you see somebody who is trying to buy something, and like that slave who is bad in certain things, you warn him, don't take this one because he is harmful to you, or he is deviant, or whatever, because you are giving him an advice so that he will not be affected by this. And someone who is who doesn't care, he's doing this sins in public, and he doesn't care if people speak about him. So if you speak about him in what he's mentioning in public, this is not considered as backbiting. The sixth and last situation is when somebody is known with something which usually people find it humiliating, maybe. For somebody, for example, when he's walking, he is not walking straight, but he's not known except that if I describe him to you, then you will know that whom I'm referring to. Or they say the one who is blind, and he is true blind, or the one who is having one hand cut, or whatever. So if it is just to let that one whom do you speak about know about him, not with the intention that you mock him or make fun of him, then this is not considered as backbiting. I'd like to stop here, and I ask Allah to keep us always sincere, following the way of the Prophet. Peace and blessings be upon him. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
رمضان 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 كريم كريم كريم